Okay, so in your file, in your Word file, you should have the same icons. So exactly like they are here. So the task is quite easy. You can see that these 10 icons, that represents all the elements that you can meet whenever you start designing a project. So all the elements that you should consider. We will just comment them very quickly so that you will understand what is the meaning of this, of each icon. Real needs, I will try to make a zoom. Okay. Well, let's. Real needs. This can be a challenge, can be a problem, can be a situation affecting either your local community or your organization. So for an example of a need of an organization could be the lack of participants, can be the lack of particular skills, so for example, the lack of project management skills in the staff. Or if we talked about needs of a community, could be youth unemployment in a specific city, or a high rate of criminality, or whatever. So we can have needs, problems, or challenges affecting either your organization or the local community, or some specific member or target groups of your local community. And in order to understand them better, the best thing to do is to make an analysis. So you can make research, you can collect data in order to understand it better. These icons are in a random order, so we are just proceeding randomly. Another element to take into account when creating projects is the activities. Of course, when we're talking activities, we refer to activities like this one, like online webinar, for example, but in a normal time without pandemic, we will be talking about, for example, residential training, war camps, can be also some street actions, whatever. And when we talk about activities, we are referring also to the logistic dimension. So for example, regarding a training on presence, the logistic dimension refers to the travel, insurance, and so on. Money. Money refers, of course, to grants, to the funding opportunities, can be also donation, and this is an essential part. Without money, we cannot run ambitious project. Management skills, they refers to the skills of the staff, for example. We are not talking about writing skills, we are talking about management skills. So the skills that you should possess to implement a project once the project application is accepted. Methods, it refers, and it links with activities. Of course, when you do non-formal education activities, you need also methods. Can be tools, can be games, all other creative instruments you can use in order to boost the learning dimension of the activities. Partnership, this is also another essential element. You might have a very wide partnership if you, for example, if you organize a K3 Erasmus Plus project with 50 international participants, partners, sorry. But you might have also smaller partnership if you do, for example, workshops in a local school. The partnership could be your organization and the schools, and maybe an association of parents of the students. So no matter the size of your project, there is always a partnership. Can be a local partnership, can be an intercontinental partnership. Anyway, a partnership is an essential and recurrent element in each project. Volunteers or participants, these are the participants or the volunteers who take part to the activities, so they are essential as well. Good ideas, yes, they are also essential. Most of all now in a very competitive environment, like for example, Erasmus Plus, where there are so many applicants, and in order to stand out, you really need to present creative and innovative ideas in order to get a grant, in order also to involve the participants. Writing skills, we mentioned before, management skills. You need also writing skills in order to write the application or to write the proposal in order to get the support or the funds. And of course, resources. Okay, without an office, without the place where to run the activity, without the staff members, you cannot go so far. Maybe you can organize a one-day event, but if you want to organize a multi-activity project, you need this kind of resources, okay? And you need also to have a solid, financially solid applicants. These are, according to us, the most important 10 elements. Of course, they can be more, but we don't want to make things more complicated than this. So your test now is in just a couple of minutes, because we don't have so much time. We can give you 2 or 3 minutes. We ask you to identify the most important three or four elements that for you are most important when you start writing a project, when you start creating a project. What are the most important ones? We provide you with a Word file. So I think that in your Word file, it is possible to isolate the icons. So you can do something. Sorry, I will try to minimize. Okay, you can do something like this. You can push them apart. And in this case, I'm keeping these two, 4, and you can isolate. So you can do something like this. Then we can ask 2 or 3 of you to share, those who want to discuss. Or if it doesn't work digitally, you just can keep track. Write down in a piece of paper the 3 or 4 or 5 most important elements. And then we will have the possibility to share our comments. And then we will share our model, which is inspired to the theory of change philosophy. And we can understand things better. We can start a discussion. And with discussion, we will bring it also to webinar number 2. So this is kind of introduction to further task that we are going to do. So now the task is for the 2-3 minutes time. Try to reflect about this, identify the most important element, 3, 4, maximum 5. And then there will be the possibility to share into comments. So let's say 2 minutes from now, and 15:36, we will meet again, and we will start sharing. So I will stop now the sharing. And of course, if you have already experience in project management, you can refer to your personal experience. Otherwise, if you are totally unfamiliar with project writing or project creating process, you can just imagine what are, according to you, the most important element. Okay, so if you're ready, I think we can start. So who would like to share either the model, or you can talk? Okay, it's not a problem. Either you can, if you know how to do it, you can share it, and maybe Julia can give you the authorization to share.
I can start. I'm sorry.
Yes, please.
Yeah, but I didn't like I wrote on my notebook.
Okay.
Because the word doesn't. Okay.
That's perfect.
Okay, so I will just talk. So I took the good ideas connected with the real needs, because I think it's important to have a good idea for a project, for a new project, but it should be connected with the needs of a community that is local or international. And I also took money, because it's important to have money to implement and work on a project. And I took volunteers, because we need to have people in order to have a good project. I think I didn't put like The writing skills, because as I said before, I tried once to write a project, and it was scary at the beginning because I was alone, but also it was like challenging, and I learned something doing it alone. But so I think it's something that a person can learn with time. So I didn't put it as an essential point, but maybe also resources. It could be a good point to have.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Antonella. Actually, they are very interesting point. So according to you, the four starting elements, if we want to create a project, should be good ideas, real needs, money, and volunteers, right? Okay, yes. I take it as a yes. It's an interesting model, and now we can share it also. We can compare with other models from other participants. So who would like to share?
Can I go on?
Yes, please.
Okay. For me, I think the ideas is very important, because you must have a project headline before you start anything. Have something in mind, ideas. Then I go for resources. For me, resources is like the same with the volunteers, because they work in hand together. And the third one is partnership. Understand? You need the reliable partners, stakeholders who can make it work. And the last one is money, because you can't do anything without funds. That is it.
Okay, that's very interesting as well. It is similar to what Antonella said. Antonella said volunteers, you said partnership, which is quite interesting. We will see this together when we are going to compare your answer to our proposition, our model. Since we have a few minutes left for sharing, I would invite other participants to step forward and to share their model if they have the will. And so please, you can we can give the floor to another participant if you want to share.
Hello to everyone.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I choose the volunteer because it's about to carry out a project. So he make people to believe in it, and the volunteers are no longer placed for to manage a project. And also I choose the good ideas, because a project must be well structured. I don't know if I pronounce it good. A project must be well structured, and I choose also the partnership to share knowledges and experience with all person who think that this project can be realized. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Also here in your in Abdul overview, we can see many similarities to what we heard from Cynthia, from Antonella. So it seems that there are some common elements, and actually we can compare these elements also to the model that we are going to share with you. Now I will share again the screen, so you can see the model that we would propose. And this model is inspired by the theory of change. Now we have around 15 minutes. Unfortunately, we cannot describe into details this model. Nevertheless, you can find the reading material, which is quite extensive and it's quite detailed. So you will better understand this session by reading this material. And this is also the starting point for next webinar. There will be also some homework related to this. But now let's see what we can say about the model. I will share once again the screen. So this is actually the model how we see it. We put aside 6 icons and we kept these 4, which are very similar to what you said, even if there is some differences. And so we can start from real needs. So according to the model that we would like to show to you, real needs is the starting point. A project is created to address a problem, an issue, a need, or a challenge. So as I said before, it can be something inside your organization. It can be something related to your local community or even to a wider region. As we said before, for example, the lack of volunteers in your organization or the high rate of needs. So people without education possibility or job opportunity in your region and so on. Another needs could be the lack of socializing opportunities for young people. There are many, okay? This is important for us, of course, because we don't want to organize, for example, a youth exchange or a work camp or a training just because we want to have fun. We organize projects because we want to make a difference, because we want to have an impact. We want to generate a change, okay? And for this reason, we're asking for external support like a grant, money, financial contribution from donor, etc. So we are not asking the support just for fun. Of course, fun is also an element that can attract participants to our the real purpose of our projects is to address specific needs, specific challenges, either of our organization or our local community. Another important element is resources. And even before creating or developing a project idea, you should assess the resources of your organization. Because if your organization, for example, is not financially solid, it's a little bit shaky regarding financing or staff or members, then maybe it is not a good idea to apply to a project as an applicant. Maybe you can join a partnership as a simple partner. So the assessment of resources is a very important initial step that you should take even before presenting a project. So you can meet with your member, you can say, okay, let's assess the resources that we have and let's see if we are able to make a step forward and to start an ambitious project. If we are able actually to address the problems that we want to solve, we want to contribute to assess. So assessment of resources is a very important step. Another important element is the partnership. So I say that is important at the beginning because sometimes it happens that an organization can start writing a project alone, okay? And can contact the partners only when the project is approved and when there is the need to receive volunteers or to receive participants. The best way to proceed is actually to involve the partnerships from the process of the creation of the idea, because the partners are not only participants providers. Partners can contribute to the writing of the application, they contribute to define the methods, they contribute to the resources. They can offer, for example, to host an activity of the project. So if we include them from the very beginning in the development of the ideas, our idea and our project, which will be much stronger from the beginning. And another important consequence is positive consequence of involving the partners in this phase is that you will avoid misunderstanding and problems when the project is approved. Of course, if you don't involve the partners in the process of the creation of the problems, that maybe they will feel forced to join the activities because they were not involved enough in the development of the phases. So the involvement of the partners at the beginning of the project creation is a very important element. And then, as you said also in your feedback, sharing your model, good ideas are very important from the beginning. In order to get a project approved, it is very important to add specific innovative elements. Can be, for example, some digital production, can be something simple, but also new in terms of the involvement of the participants. You can ask also the future beneficiaries of the project in order to collect the ideas. Sometimes we project manager, we tend to work in isolation. So we have our ideas, but we do not test them with the future participants. In a way, it should be a good idea to work in contact and to involve also the future participants in such a way that they can identify better the format or the methods or the kind of activities they would like to be involved in the future. So to recap, real needs, resources, partnership and good ideas for us are the most relevant element to start with the project. As you can see here, we didn't include the money. Of course, money are super important. Without the financial support of the European institutions, for example, like Erasmus Plus or the European Youth Foundation, we cannot implement ambitious project or multi-activity project. Nevertheless, when you start working with the development an idea, you shouldn't be so much focused on the money. This is something that you will identify later, okay? First, it is more important to involve all the partners in the development of the idea, to understand the needs that you want to address and the problem that you want to contribute to solve, and to, as we said, to involve the partners and also to have a clear and honest assessment of the resources available. Then when these ideas are clear and when you have also the ownership, when you have structure of the ownership of the idea together with the participants and the partners, you can identify what is the best funding opportunities that matches with your idea. I can make an example of my personal life as a project manager. Sometimes in the past, it happened to me that I worked with organizations and their strategy was to focus 2 or 3 nights in writing the application, no matter the topic. They would just first identify the grant that they wanted to apply just because they needed money. They try to write an application for this in order to be as successful as possible. And then only after receiving the grant, they would start the partnerships, the analysis of the needs, the resources, and so on. So for them, the most important focus was getting the money. And then they would start working on the other elements. But this could be really problematic. It is much better first to have a clear idea about the things that you want to do, and then to understand what kind of grants you can ask according to these ideas, okay? So you will find more details about this and also more connection to the theory of changes in the related reading material. Just a few comments about, now I will stop the screening. A few comments about the theory of change. The theory of change actually is a model, is an approach that stresses changes, impact. So the bottom line of the theory of change is that we want to write and to implement organized project because we want to generate a change. We want to make a difference. We want to address a specific need of the community. So we are not writing project because we want the money. Of course, we will need the money to organize and to implement our project. But first of all, we should focus on the change that we want to produce. on the benefit for the community, on the benefit for our organization, on the benefit of the future participants. When this is clear, then as we said before, we can look for the potential grants, for the financial support that we need, okay? So the theory of change stresses a lot, and I highlight the importance of the change, of the purpose, of the aims. This is something that forces us to ask ourselves, why I want to do this? And this is the most important question. So not what I want, how much money I need. First of all, why I want to do something. So this is something that forces you to reflect also about the values of your organization, the mission and vision. When you sit down around the table with the partners or with the member of your organization, with the board, and you start with this approach, you will have to answer this question. So if the mission and vision and the values of your organization are not clear, you will understand this by adopting this approach. Sometimes it happened to me that I worked with an experienced organization, and when we sat on a table, the first question is, how can we get the money? And there was no clarity regarding the aim of the organization, because their focus was just to get the money, just to get the grant. We need the grant, and not why, because we want to make the activity. But then the question was why you want to make the activity. And they didn't have clear idea about this. And maybe it happened that at the end the activity failed because the participants come and they don't understand what they have to do. They misunderstood the meaning of the activity. They thought it was just for having fun. And then at the end, there was no impact because fun or just wasting time was the meaning of the activity. And this is not what we want to achieve with our project. So now I think that you understand better, and this is also matches what your feedback before, that the most important thing when we start creating project is the question why. Values, vision, mission, impact, change, the difference that we want to make. This is the starting point. Then when this is clear, okay, we can go and we can look for grant opportunity, donors, financial support. And this is actually what we are going to discuss in webinar number 2 and webinar number 3. Webinar number 3 will be more focused on logistic. Webinar number 2, we will continue actually this process, and we will talk about how to translate needs into objectives, into learning outcomes, into activities. And then we will go deeper also in the possibility and the opportunities where to look for grants and financial support. And we will tackle also one of the most scary topic for you, which is numbers, financial report, and budgets, okay, with practical exercises. So that's the end for the moment regarding this introduction to project design and the theory of change.